Hey, so let me just minimize this stuff and get to my view full screen. Full screen. Awesome. So now, in the next roughly 1 hour, I'm going to tell you about 5 skills you can use to capitalize on coronavirus. Not the drinks, the coronavirus. And so you want to become a leader, find solutions as they develop, pivot your mindset, set attainable goals, and love your current self and your current journey. There you go. So come with me to Whistler. So it's April 11th, 2015, and you are with me at World Tour Finals, the championships in slopestyle. That's multiple jumps and rails, and you're judged on your overall impression in one run, and half pipe, which is half of the tube made out of snow. I know, a little bit more crazy, flipping and spinning. So you're at the World Tour Finals. And slopestyle and half pipe are both X Games activities. They're really cool and groundbreaking. And you're with my sister. You're 19 years old, so a youth, and you're really excited. It's your first ever World Tour Finals. And you're watching me compete because you just compete in the half pipe and I'm in the slopestyle day. And my first run, I ended up in 4th place. Now, everyone knows that annoying sibling or competitor or somebody who always has to be right? The person who's always correct. Yep, that was me. Very competitive. Even when I was competing against my little sister who's 8 years younger than me, I had to win. So you knew I'm very competitive, and 4th place does not cut it for me. So you know that I'm going to change my off-axis backflip called a flat 3 to an off-axis double backflip called a double flat 7. You also remember being at the 2013 X Games when I landed the first ever. I was the first female to land a double flip in a slopestyle run. So I can accomplish it, and I've been doing it for 2 years. So I'm going to upgrade. And so you give me a hug. I drop in for my run. I take off. You can't see the landing because of the mountain, how it's fit. So you don't see the landing. And then you don't see me hit the next jump. And you're waiting and waiting. It's silent. And then you hear the radio crinkle to life saying, "We need all hands on deck and a helicopter on standby." You look at the coach, and without a word, you both put on your skis and ski down. And when you come over the ridge, you see me spewing blood, convulsing. My eyes are rolled back. That is when I encountered my largest trauma. And since you are my sister, you encountered a huge, unexpected trauma in your life. Well, so that was April 11th, 2015, a day that I will remember forever. Although I say I will remember, but I won't remember any part of it forever because I don't have memory of the day going skiing. I don't have memory of the crash. I don't have memory of the 10 days after I was in the coma or the 6 weeks after I had amnesia. So I don't remember it, but that day changed my life. And so one of the big things is I stuck with a song, the Taylor Swift song. Every time we go crashing down, we'll come back because we'll never go out of style. We'll never go out of style. And I stuck with that. And that's the thing. When people encounter traumas and they go crashing down, they can build huge, wonderful lives that they want to, but they're always going to be climbing an alternative peak after. a trauma. And no one expects a trauma to happen to them. Yet so many traumas happen to so many people. And we're sitting right now with COVID-19. And the similarities it has with the TBI are immense. We didn't expect what was happening to us globally. Everybody's encountering all these changes and differences in their life because of COVID-19. And my traumatic brain injury was unexpected and caused changes in my life as well. Yet here's the important thing I'm going to be talking about this whole lecture is that you can create the luck in the outcome of the trauma. Nobody can affect or predict or control what happens to them, but everybody can control what happens in the outcome. How do they respond? Because individuals will thrive after this trauma. So Microsoft, CNN, Electric Arts, AMR, iPod, Airbnb, Uber, they all started to thrive after depression. So when life around you is going down, find the opportunities to go up again. And there will be organizations and individuals who will thrive after COVID-19. But the question is, how do they thrive? Well, the first thing is to become a leader. Everybody is a leader of themselves. I remember about 8 months after my injury, when I was beginning to realize I was no longer a competitive professional skier, any sort of professional skier, and my life had been all wrapped around being a professional athlete. So I didn't know what I was going to do, and I was at a loss. And I clearly remember this day, just lying in bed. And my mom had gone off to be a ski instructor. My sister had gone off to her training. And I was just lying in bed and wondering, who would care if I get up in the morning? You know, who will care if I go skiing today? Who will care if I accomplish things? I don't have anything I have to do. And it was really sad. And I actually started crying and I was like, nobody cares. And then that's when I realized I care. I care if I get up. I care if I go skiing. I care if I accomplish the things I want to do, because everybody is a leader of themselves. So whether you have other people that you're leading as well, maybe it's friend groups, maybe it's internships, maybe it's work, whoever you are leading, you're always leading yourself, and your decisions impact everything around you. So you must know to be a learning organization. As things are evolving and changing, instead of taking what you have learned and using that in the future, it might not work anymore. It might not be the same. See, when I went into my injury and I went into Vancouver General Hospital, I became the first patient in North America to receive an oxygen and pressure analyzing brain bolt. They drilled the bolt into my brain that they had learned about in Cambridge, England. And so they weren't going with the stereotypical how they have done it before. But when change happens, when crisis happens in trauma, you need to learn and you need to recognize that everything you know might be a little bit different. So know that you are a learning organization, and leadership, leading yourself, is exceptional performance and pushing the limits. And so just keep on leading yourself and find solutions as they develop. You know, my birthday was in 1992, 2 years before I was born. A computer scientist named Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web. So what we're doing right now, like this communication, this webinar, it's all done by the web. With COVID-19, we have started going virtual. A lot of schools are virtual, colleges are virtual, meetings are virtual. All of that is just about as old as me. It's that kind of virtual work is much younger than me, but just the whole concept of the World Wide Web is so young, and it has changed and evolved and makes our lives different. Like if we were a different generation, a generation before, and we had an impact of COVID-19, we would have had to have different solutions and different outcomes, protocol that we were using in the outcomes. But so solutions as they're developing, that's what you need to grab onto. And so no one who's watching this right now, a lot of the youth, they don't know where their life career is going to go. And so you don't have to know exactly where you're going to go. Some people do, and that's great for them. And some people don't, and that's great for them. Both are great, but know that you need to take the paths as they come along. So just keep walking and moving. So this is a video of me skiing, actually in Austria. It was a heli shoot in Austria before the accident. And this was at an event called Nine Queens. So if you want to Google things up, if you look at Nine Queens, you can find out it's a all-girls film event. So that is what I was doing before my accident. And then this is in Portugal last summer, the summer of 2019. And I'm flipping off a boat. Now, if you expected to see either of those two videos or the person who is speaking to you now, on May 13th, exactly 5 years ago, you would not have seen her. That girl did not exist. So how did I get from being up here down to the pit and then climbing again? Well, I always like to use the analogy of in life, you're always climbing a mountain peak. And sometimes you get caught with metaphorical avalanches that slide you down the mountain. And then once you're at the bottom of the mountain, you have the decision to make if you want to start climbing an alternative peak. Now, when you're climbing an alternative peak, it can be rolly. You might get caught in more metaphorical avalanches because that's how life is. You go up, you go down. But when you're going up, if you get caught in a big metaphorical avalanche, you have the choice to start successfully creating your recovery process and starting to climb. And all of that starts with the mindset. So you need to pivot your mindset. And now there's this little clip from Friends, which is about pivoting. And if you've seen Friends, you know what's coming. Oh my goodness. Well, there we go. Okay. So in life, as we encounter trauma and struggles, we need to pivot our mindsets. And we need to go from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. So a growth mindset is individuals who believe their talents can be developed through hard work, good strategies, and input from others. So it's not fixed. A fixed mindset is everything is permanent. If you're a good athlete, you were born a good athlete. That's what people with a fixed mindset think, versus people with a growth mindset understand that if they want to accomplish something, they have to take steps to get there, but they can do it. It's possible to accomplish whatever you want to do, build whatever life you want to build, if you look at it and you see the way to go, and you look at it that it's evolving and growing. It's a growth mindset. And so an example of looking at things with a growth mindset is that because of COVID-19, a lot of schools, most schools, are remote, which means that the professors and the schools, they all have to figure out how are they going to educate the children while a different practice being remote. So figuring that out is looking at it with a growth mindset. Okay, I want to accomplish this. How am I going to get there? So how can I build that? And so I looked at my TBI struggles with a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. So instead of saying, okay, I can't swallow water. When I'm holding water with my right hand, because my right side had been paralyzed, was paralyzed. When I'm holding water with my right hand and my hand was shaking and I couldn't hold water without spilling it, I could look at it two ways. I could say, okay, that's my permanent deficit. That's my struggles. They're concrete and they're just the new life that I'm going to be living. Or I could look at it in a way of how am I going to get that to grow? And because I received incredible support from mostly my mom, actually, she has a master's in psychology, and she had me do things like put coins into a jar, and she had me work on hand strengthening, and playing with sand and working on that. So instead of looking at it like, okay, that's just Jamie's new deficits, it's her problems and they're permanent, looking at things with a fixed mindset, she looked at it with a growth mindset. Okay, what are the steps we can take to get that, to move it? And so how are we going to fix those problems? So looking at it with a growth mindset gives you the possibility to be able to start creating your luck in your outcome. So this is an example of me skateboarding at rehab. I was in outpatient rehab, and I really wanted to do something a little bit more crazy again, because my life had been really cool and I was always doing crazy things. I went back to doing crazy things, but in a different way. But I wanted to do crazy things at the time when I was in outpatient rehab, and I couldn't do it because it was too dangerous. If I went skateboarding and I fell, even with a helmet on, I always wear a helmet. Helmets are cool, bro. Anyways, when I was skateboarding, even with a helmet on, if I hit my head, the repercussions would be bad. And so I couldn't do that. And so what did I want to do? I wanted to go skateboarding. So my physical therapists thought of an idea. Okay, well, if we use the apparatus that you usually use for people relearning how to walk again, then with her harness on, if Jamie falls, I can't hit the ground. So it's delivering what you want while minimizing the risk. And that's all done by looking at every struggle you encounter in life, or every struggle your business encounters in life, with a growth mindset. And if you skateboard, you know that's very, very basic level of skateboarding. But let me tell you, I was so excited and I had so much fun. And every day that after I started doing this in rehab, I was like, yes, I get to go skateboarding. So it was so exciting to be able to deliver what I wanted while minimizing the risk. So now we've looked at things with a growth mindset. With a growth mindset, we know that we can create what we want to create. It's just going to take time. But then once you have that growth mindset, what do? So you're deciding to climb that alternative peak, but what happens next? Well, that is where we set attainable goals. And so with attainable goals, it's what you actually can accomplish. And attainable goals lead you to your growth goals. So if you have some bigger pictures of like, okay, I want to do XYZ, or I want to go touring, but I can't walk upstairs, then the attainable goals are the little steps that lead to the growth goals. And so I've mentioned a couple times already that my mom is awesome. You would want to know her. She is Mama Fruit. And let me just give you a little bit of a visualization. She has long blonde hair to below her waist. She's a bundle of energy, always energy, and everybody knows her. I'll be in the gondola on the mountains and they'll be like, oh, you're Fruit's daughter. Oh, like when I was going to X Games and breaking world records, they'd be, oh, you're Fruit's daughter. Because everybody always knows Fruit. And she raised me with a quote. She came up with a quote and she raised it to be your own personal best. I didn't really understand that until my personal best changed a lot. What that means is I always understood be your best, be the best, be the best, be your own best, be your own best. I got that, which is what led me to being a professional athlete, what led me to the top of my circuit, what pushed me. And then I began to realize after my coma, when I started recovering, my mind came back and I was healing, that for different days, you have a different personal best. And so be your own personal best. I began to really understand what that meant. One day, my personal best was doing double flips off a ski jump. And one day, my personal best was walking up a flight of stairs by myself. And my personal best kept changing and changing. But if you fight to your personal best, you'll be able to make your personal best better and better and better. And so that actually totally correlates with setting attainable goals, to be your own personal best. And so your attainable goals are goals you can accomplish the next day. So they're little goals that you know you can accomplish, not far off, because sometimes those goals, they're great to have in the back of your mind, but sometimes your growth goals can seem overwhelming. Like what you want to accomplish is so far away, it's so far in the future, versus if you really focus on what you can attain day by day, that's huge. And for me in my recovery, that was tremendous, because instead of thinking about the fact that I used to be a professional skier who was really good at just about everything athletic, besides throwing basketball, I could do just about everything. I could walk on my hands. I was a gymnast. So I was accomplished. And then to think about the fact that I couldn't ride a two-wheel bike anymore would be really depressing. So instead, I focused on, okay, I am going to learn how to ride a two-wheeler again, and I'm going to get these goals. And so I set attainable goals that I knew I could accomplish the very next day. And so this is a video of me climbing the hospital stairs. And you can see I couldn't lift my leg up by myself. That's my mom on the far side, Mama Fruit. And that's my physical therapist. And so at the beginning, it was really difficult. This wasn't even the first video of me climbing the stairs. But it was really challenging for me to climb up stairs. It would take my hour of physical therapy to do one flight of stairs, and I couldn't do it by myself. And then I reached the point where I practiced every single day. So I set that as attainable goals for me to go a little bit farther, a little bit faster. And I would go farther and farther and farther until the hospital had 12 flights of stairs. I was running up 12 flights of stairs. And then I started timing myself. And so at first it was like 10 minutes, and then it was faster and faster. And by the time I left the hospital, I could run up 12 flights of stairs in 3 minutes and 28 seconds. And I know this because I timed myself so I could quantify my progress, and I set attainable goals. So at that time, my goals was not all these stardom things of like X Games or doing a double flip or things like big things like that. They were things that I could accomplish, walking upstairs, running upstairs every single day. And I could set those goals for me to accomplish. And while you're going through this whole journey, you need to love your current self in your current journey. So in our social media, personal development world, everyone wants to be the best in different ways, but they compare themselves to who they were in the past or who they want to be in the future, but they forget about who they currently are. So an example for this is mountain biking. I was mountain biking with my friend the other day. I really enjoy mountain biking, but I am not the best. I'm not close to the best. I'm intermediate at it, and I like it a lot, but I don't want to be the best. And so I love how I currently am. And we have this idea that we always want to better ourselves, because in a way you do, but in another way, you need to be content with who you currently are and your current life choices and how you currently are as a mountain bike, and for some things you want to push, improve, and get better. So for my speaking career, I want to speak at more events. I want my message to go broader and farther. That I'm really focusing on and putting a lot of energy into, because that I want to improve on. But with mountain biking, I don't want to improve on. So know on your journey where you want to put your energy to improve and where you're happy just being content, letting it go, and love your current journey, because the fundamentals lead to a successful outcome. And bad days do happen. So with COVID-19, my younger sister, she wants to be an international event planner, and she was hired to do an international event in Europe and was super, super excited for it. And then due to COVID, it's not happening. It was with, it's not happening. So she can't accomplish it and she can't go. And so she's going to be bummed because, bad days do happen, but that doesn't mean that it's permanent. Because like we talked about with the growth mindset, no days are permanent days. So just because she can't do it this time, I firmly believe that there's going to be opportunities for her to do international events, and she loves Europe. So she's going to travel all over Europe and put on fabulous events. I believe it's going to happen because looking at it with a growth mindset, because it didn't happen this year does not mean it's never going to happen, but it does mean that it's a bad day. And so when it's a bad day, sometimes you got to just shake it off. Shake it off. Shake it off. Break, 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 break. Break, 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 break. I'm just gonna shake it. Shake it off. Shake it off. So, in case you can't tell in this presentation, love Taylor Swift. I love her music. And sometimes you just gotta shake it off. And sometimes you gotta be goofy. Like I actually, on my Instagram, on Jamie Mo Crazy, my latest video is me dancing to bubble butt. And I put bubble wrap into my butt and I'm like bubble butt, bubble, bubble, bubble butt. And I'm dancing around and handstand twerking and having so much fun. And it's kind of embarrassing and it's kind of silly and goofy. And the purpose of it is just to release and have fun. Because as things are happening and as we want to accomplish things and as we're pushing ourselves, we need to make sure that we're continuing to have fun. Because if we're not happy and we're not enjoying life, then what's the point of living? And the point of living is to enjoy it, and you always can create your life to become one that you enjoy living. An example I use is my friend. He got his leg amputated due to cancer when he was a teenager. That's really traumatic and bleak. Fast forward some years, and now he's a Paralympic gold medal snowboarder. And so it's a permanent disability to have your leg amputated. And quite often you do have permanent changes in your life that are bad. But you can create the outcome to be good, the outcome to be positive if you take steps. You look at it and then you take steps to create it that way. And you love yourself throughout the process. And so a TED Talk that I have been listening to, a TED Talk daily, is about how it's okay to feel overwhelmed. And here's what to do next, by Elizabeth Gilbert. So if you want a TED Talk daily to listen to, it's talking about that. And one of her advice is to take a journal and write all your struggles and traumas in it. So write everything that's wrong and then respond as if you're the person who loves you the most in the world, and respond that way. And don't give concrete advice, but just give guidance on how to look at it, pivot your mindset and look at it a little bit differently, because bad days do happen to every single person. And the key is getting over them, getting over the bad days quickly and accepting that it's a bad day, I'm going to move on. And make sure that we want to write the ending to all of our stories. So we're all living in a story. And you want to write the ending that you want to be living. And you can do that. So when I was in the hospital, before I left the hospital, and my mind was returning, but before I left, the nurses would ask me where I was so that if I could articulate where I was, they could release me. And so they would say, "Where are you?" And I would respond, straight face, dead serious, "I am in a movie about a hospital." You see, there's a hammock in my room. There's all these pictures. I'm not old. I'm not sick. I'm not actually in a hospital. I'm in a movie about a hospital. And I even had a point that proved it. When you poke me with needles, it doesn't hurt. Now, the nurses had a challenging time dealing with a patient who would refuse to believe she was in a hospital. And how would they tell their patient that it didn't hurt when they poked her with needles because she was paralyzed, so she didn't feel the pain? And so I did have a lot of cognition issues at that time. So I wasn't articulating as clearly as I am now. So it was more kind of like a drunk 7-year-old. So I would slur my words, and I was goofy like a drunk 7-year-old. I was so happy in the hospital and so goofy. But I refused to believe I was in a hospital because I did not think I was old or sick. And when my cognition started to return more and I began to realize I was in a hospital, I still refused to believe and recognize how serious my injury had been. Because the whole time, the one thing that I really focused on and that was in my mind was that I was going to be okay. I was going to be okay. And there was times when the doctors told my family, Jamie will never live independently. She'll never have a job. She'll never be able to accomplish things on her own. And throughout that whole process, and my mom kicked him to the curb because she was like, "You don't know that. I'm going to love Jamie, whoever Jamie becomes." So I was really lucky that I had such a fiery family that doesn't really listen to things they don't want to listen to. But then when my mind started to come back, I kept that belief that I was going to be okay and I was going to be fine and I was going to create my life to be okay. And that's the thing we want to focus on, is that we all can create our lives to be okay. Because the truth is that my experience was very unique and doesn't happen to all that many people, but exactly how mine did. But the experience of overcoming a trauma happens to just about everybody. Most people in life, there's wonderful things that happen and there's traumatic things that happen. And most people have to overcome different kinds of trauma or multiple traumas in their lives. And how you look at the trauma and how you believe it gives you the power to write your own ending. And you can't just believe something's going to happen and sit there. If I just sat there and was like, okay, my right hand is my right hand is going to work perfectly fine, and I just lied in bed and believed my right hand would work perfectly fine, it would never have become working perfectly fine. I have to believe my right hand's going to work fine. And then I have to take the steps to strengthen my hand, pick up coins, do writing again. Like I had to go back and I did kindergarten writing with the big letters and then the smaller letters and reading and writing reports and algebra 1 again before I returned to college, and all those little details. So it takes a lot of time and effort. And while you're having time and effort, it can be way too easy to overwhelm yourself with how much you have to get done and keep going. So sometimes you just got to let it go and give it a little bit of a dance and have a little bit of fun and, maybe go for a walk outside. And so I'm creating a documentary about my story. And so this is a little featurette which kind of sums up what I've just been relating to in my story. So we'll just watch that. So this is going to give you visualization of a lot of the stories I just shared. Double backflip. So, looking at things with a growth mindset and creating attainable goals allows you to build habits in your life. And the habits actually change your synaptic connections. It changes the nerve pathways in your brain and allow you to become who you want to be and build the life you want to have and create your luck in the outcome of any trauma. So when encountering a struggle, you need to respect learning. Look at everything with a growth mindset. Understand it's not permanent, and you can set attainable goals to push you towards those growth goals and create to become your own personal best. Love yourself throughout your journey and write the ending that you want to live. So, for everyone, sometimes life becomes a little bit more crazy. Right now, we're all experiencing COVID-19, that coronavirus. It's changed so many things in our life. It's changed so many things in those surrounding us, in their lives as well. So we're both patients and caregivers at the same time, because maybe your mother or your father lost their job, things are changing, and you're not in school. And so what happens? What happens when it becomes a little bit more crazy? Well, you have to find strategies and tools that you can implement into your life to help you build those habits that will create luck in the outcomes that you experience. So I'm going to ask you to find me on social media and message me with your attainable goal for tomorrow. And so Facebook, Jamie Mo Crazy, Instagram, Jamie Mo Crazy, LinkedIn, Jamie Mo Crazy. And so message me your attainable goals. I really look forward to hearing from you guys. And I also linked my Life Gets Mo Crazy Overcoming Struggle. That's my Calendly invitation. So if you have a trauma or a struggle that you found ways to overcome and you would like to share that with my followers and my audience, I would love that. So you can just sign up. We're actually booked out until October right now. Actually until November right now. But if you're interested, you can book a time and you can write what you want the focus to be on. But I talk on the Brain Energy Radio Network about overcoming struggles with my show Life Gets Mo Crazy. And so I interview different people who have accomplished overcoming struggles in different ways, implementing different strategies and tools into their life. And that's so great because it gives so many new ideas, and then tie it back into a brain injury and how you can overcome the struggles by implementing those strategies into your brain injury healing. So that's the end of my presentation, and I hope you learned some skills on how you can capitalize on coronavirus and you can build that life that you want to be living. Bye, everyone. Virtual hug.